Hey, how y'all doing? I received a request for an overall tour of my layout. So what I figured I'd do is I'd give you like the basics and everything to begin with. I have a cheat sheet so I don't forget anything. So anyway, it's an HO layout and consists of 4 railroads. The Maryland and Pennsylvania, which is a short line in York. The Penn Central, which just runs around and serves a couple industries. I'll show you later on that. The Getty's Reading, that just runs very short distances, and then the big railroad, which is the Western Maryland, sort of in the Chessie area, just as they were kicking in. I'm thinking about backdating a little bit. The Western Maryland goes from Baltimore to Hagerstown, which are both staging yards, with a branch line in New York. Then the PC goes from Harrisburg to Frederick, and the Ma and Pa is strictly in York itself, and the Reading just goes from Mount Holly Springs into Gettysburg, like I said, which is just a short trek. I use JMRI to create my switch lists, and I run an operating session with my group about every 6 to 7 weeks, something like that, depending on when I come up in the rotation. The layout's 21 by 18 foot, double deck, as you can see, with a helix. Helix is 25-inch radius, which is really weird. I can explain that later. The Baltimore staging has 6 tracks. Hagerstown has 6 tracks. Harrisburg has 2, and Frederick has 2 staging tracks, which is pretty cool. The layout's controlled by NCE ProCab. I have, I think, 3 radio throttles and 3 tethered throttles, plus I can use the ProCab that I have on my workbench to operate the railroad. There are 7 power districts. They all have their own circuit breaker. The minimum radius on the layout on the main line is 26. Once we get off of that into yards, I tried to make the radiuses as wide as I could, depending on the space limitations. You can see most of my aisleways are pretty wide, so people who are working in here, we have plenty of room. The track is Atlas Code 83 for the most part on the main line, Western Maryland, and in the staging yards. That's code 83. In York itself, I use code 70 with Shinahara switches and Caboose Industries ground throws. I also have some Walther switches on the layout and Shinahara, like I say. And most of the turnouts are Picos, Insel Frogs, which I find to work out really, really well. There's only a few switches powered by tortoises. They're only ones that we can't reach, and they use Barrett Hill's toggles to throw some of the switches because the operators, because it's on the upper deck, the operators can't see the switches, and then there are switches that we can't reach. So they're all powered by this Barrett Hill's system, which is really nice. It's super easy to hook up. It's a little on the expensive side, but for what you get out of it, it's well worth it. So I will say that. The industrial siding is a code 55, where I could fit them in, which actually looks pretty cool. Let's see, like I say, most of the turnouts are manual, but I also, on the code 70 switches and Shinahara, the Shinahara switches, I actually saw something on YouTube where you could slide a thin piece of plastic underneath the throw bar, and it gave it enough friction to hold it in place, and that worked. That's pretty cool. So you don't need any ground throws or anything, and the ones that have ground throws are all the Caboose Industry ones. And then over in Porter Sidling, there are 3 Pico servo motors over there with their system of toggles to throw those switches. So, and then my backdrop was painted by my good friend Pete Chapin. He's a pretty good artist, and also I'm taking golf lessons from him too, and he's just a fun guy to be around. I just love the guy, so, and appreciate what he's done here. You can see this is pretty neat. So I guess with that being said, I think I got it all covered. I'm gonna shut this off here, and we'll go to a look at the entire layout, just an overview. So I'm going to kind of try and do this a little quickly so that the video is not too long, especially with the introduction I did. So here is Hagerstown Staging Yard, right here. And then right below that is Mount Holly Springs. which is 2 tracks, which I said before. Down below is Baltimore, staging tracks. You can see it's a pretty good length. And then down here is Harrisburg. There are 2 tracks down there. So when you lead the staging, you go here in the Porter Sidling. It's a weird spelling, but that's how the Western Maryland had it spelled and all the maps and everything. So if you go that way, you go into York, PA. That's the branch line to York. And if you go this way, at the time it was called the Dutch line. Now I think it's called the Hanover Sub. So anyway, I had to fit that behind York. And I'll show you that. I'm gonna pause here for a second and I'll take you in the other second. The only problem here is when you come out of here, you got to walk all the way halfway around the basement to get to the other side. So I'll be right back. On a Porter Sidling in the back there, next to the booby hatch, is where those tracks are. Now I'm trying to hide those so it just looks like another industrial track back in there. And the tracks in the foreground are the ones to York, PA. So right now, I'm just going to take you around the main line, and then I'll show you York. So you're going around York, actually going to see most of it here. So maybe I'll do that beforehand. So anyway, this is York. So let me pause, and I'll bring you in the way you come. So here's the track that comes through Spring Grove, Pennsylvania. There's a big paper plant there. It's one of the big industries on my layout, obviously, that the Penn Central also serves. I'll go over that in a few minutes. That's scratch built. Took some photographs and tried to make it look as much as it could like it does. In the 70s, Western Maryland did have a station here at Spring Grove, so I bought that building from Medford Trains, and that was pretty cool. I have a few more of those. There was one of the things I wanted to model was where the Western Maryland went over the Penn Central, or ex-Pennsylvania Railroad tracks. So I modeled that, but it didn't allow me to get the grade down into Spring Grove because Penn Central and Western Maryland are at the same grade there. So you come around, this is Pennsylvania 462, and there's an oil plant there, just a distributor. And you come around and there's some industries back here, which I didn't really model everything to the net spot. If it's something that kind of looked like the York area, I did it like the Lehigh cement plant in the background is actually right here at Lincoln Yard. So this is Lincoln Yard. Then we go through here. And then Penn Central goes down underneath of there. I couldn't figure out how to hide it, so best it could. You really can't see where the Penn Central disappears there. So then there's various and assorted industries all along, named after most of the guys in my round robin group. And I asked them what they wanted to call their industries. So I did that. The Penn Central tracks in the foreground there. And the Hanover Sub, Dutch line is in the background, is at the back, all the way in the back. So more industries to serve here along. This is a lot of it's just a switching layout. These are ITLA, that one, close one here. The other one is custom model railroads, some author structures, DPM that I put together from their modules. Kit bashed a couple. So this is all York. This is the Western Maryland and Monpaw, and the Penn Central has trackage rights through here. So, and then there's Moe's Scrapyard, and there's the engine house in York. So that's the York area. So while we're here, the main line, the Dutch line, is actually in the background and finally comes out, still in York at this point. This is a lift out section, and as soon as we get across the lift out section, we're into what I call Lower Hanover. Hanover actually takes up 2 levels. So I was having trouble getting things to run real well or switch around. So I managed to fit a track in here for a a yard of sorts. It's just one track that holds these cars. Well, things move around a lot better based off of that. So once again, Penn Central's in the foreground, Western Maryland in the back, and the cross. Now, in my era, there was a diamond and a train station. The station's still there, but they just took the cross of the diamond out. So, and I mentioned the Frederick staging yard. So what happens is the Penn Central comes around here, and the Western Maryland goes into the helix right there. You kind of see the opening a little bit. So Penn Central goes around the outside. That's the two staging yards in Frederick. So, and then the railroad just kind of ends. So that's I'll show you the rest of the Penn Central in a minute. But then as you go around the helix, you come out on the upper deck. Actually, I'll show you what the inside sort of looks like. So there's the inside of the helix. And my wife maybe cut that opening, but it actually helps because the operators don't come in a million miles an hour out of the helix. This is the Utz potato chip factory up top. It's one of our big customers. We do quite a bit of business up here. There's a lot of switching required, and there's some industries in the background too that also that need to be switched. So pretty cool. Come around here. Got to get around a step ladder. So the main line comes around this way through Upper Hanover, as I call it. And as we come around, we come to Bittinger's stone plant, which is the Western Maryland's hottest train, was a stone train, because Bethlehem Steel was asking for, limestone. And, when they say jump, Western Maryland jump. So I'm going to kind of try and scratch building. I had one of the fellow model railroaders actually took some video of the structures that are here. This is just kind of a placeholder until I get the nerve to start building my own, scratch building one. So, and then there was an engine house here, and I just wanted an industry to be able to switch. So I put that in. There was a brickyard in New Oxford. So I built a building for the brickyard. And then the main line comes around here. In the background, you can see the staging yards. I'm going to go around to the other side. I'm going to shut this down, pause this for a minute, and then go over to the other side to show you where we come around the peninsula. So we come around the peninsula here. A friend of mine, Dave Renard, I paced off the station there, the Reading station in Gettysburg, and he built the model for me. Absolutely phenomenal. I scratch built the white building back there, which is in Gettysburg, and then Dave also built the Western Maryland station, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I gave him a footprint and he built it. He was a master model railroader. And the track coming in front of the red station there, the Reading station, is the Reading track. So the Reading comes out of staging right there, runs out here and just interchanges with the Western Maryland. So the foreground, there's a interchange track, and in the background, there's an interchange track. So then the main line just comes around here. Goes up past, this is called Ortana, and that's a building that Howard Zane built and actually gave to me, which was very generous of him. So very appreciative of Howard doing that. So then we just come up here and to Hagerstown. So I'll show you the kind of the Penn Central run here in just a second. So you've already seen parts of the Penn Central. So the Penn Central comes around this way on the foreground tracks with the reverse loop around Frederick. comes around here, and then enters York on trackage rights. And then you can see the Mom Pa engine. That's her engine house, and they switch. About half the industries in York, and Western Maryland switched the other half. So you can see all the track. I got a couple warehouses to scratch build right back there behind that Majestic building. I think it's Bar Mills. So you can see all the track here in York, and that's where the Penn Central goes. And then it branches off at this double slip switch and goes around here to down, and down underneath, which is a reverse loop, down underneath the peninsula. And I'll show you where it comes out on the other side. So we come out of the Penn Central here, underneath the layout, or the peninsula, and Lincoln Yard, come around down here, and then there are several tracks that are served by the Penn Central here, that, you know, there's tanks for acid and all kinds of other products there for the paper industry and the pulp and that. And then as it disappears back there, that is a branch to either go around underneath the peninsula to do the reverse loop, or to go off to the right into Harrisburg staging. So kind of a not great wiring, but you can see some of the NCE stuff that I have. And that's, I'll give you an overall view real quick. I don't want this stuff to be too long. So as you walk in, this part of the layout, this is what you see, which is pretty, you know, a little bias here, but I really think it does, it looks pretty good. It needs some work. I could do things better, and I know that, as we all can. I mean, I watch some of these guys on YouTube, and I'm like, holy cow, these guys are phenomenal. So, anyway, that's kind of the overview of the layout. I hope you all enjoyed this, and you got some information out of it, that, you know, the things that I do, and why I do them. I don't know if there's a why in there or not, but anyway, take care, everyone. See ya.